and welcome back to Four Corners of the Galley. I'm your host PBO, and you're joining me on another edition of Westworld. What the bleep? So we're all the way up to episode 2, Reunion. Like we do every week, we're gonna break down the whole episode. I'm gonna kind of give you the quick start, give you a little fun thing, and then get into all the different timelines one by one, and we'll go from there. All right, let's kick this sucker off. So we got episode 2, Reunion. So this episode starts off, and like all episodes pretty much now recently, we start off with another Arnold and Dolores memory. And here we are again, back in the room, and they're sitting across from each other, and they're having, actually, I'm sorry, wrong. They're having a memory, but they're actually in a different location. Arnold has taken Dolores to the outside world, and he's now officially she's officially in the outside world. He takes her to, they're inside of this hotel room, and she's looking outside, and she's staring at all the lights, and she says, have you ever seen anything so beautiful? It looks like the stars have laid themselves down, and she's fascinated by the beauty, and him and her are having conversation, and they're discussing things. Right at that moment, Arnold walks in, and what we find out is this is actually the beginning of the Argos program and the beginning of everything. So they just completed Dolores and I guess a few other hosts, and they're now trying to sell and pitch this idea to other people. So Dr. Ford comes in and asks Arnold if she's ready, and he kind of acts like she isn't, and Ford kind of teases him like he's showing favoritism, and it ends up where they end up using a different lady, and what happens is Arnold takes Dolores on a walk, and he takes her on this walk to show her off his house, this house he's building for his family, so that he can have both worlds close. I'm guessing where they're at in this mainland is very close to this island where the parks are at, and so that's why he wants to have his family near where his job is, so he can have all security. Dolores is walking around, she's fascinated with everything, and just the whole time Arnold's watching her, and Arnold you can see it's starting to slip, that he's starting to like seem that she's almost human like, and they come to this conversation, and she goes out and she looks at another thing, and she says the exact same line she started the whole thing off with, is, have you ever seen anything so beautiful? It looks like all the stars are lined out, and right then it kind of clicks in Arnold's head that this is a host and not a woman, and he's always so intrigued by her, and he ends up taking her back at that point, and that's how we kick off this whole episode. So it definitely kicks off with some fun new intrigue, adding another element and layer to this whole Dolores and Arnold flashback, where we actually get to see her in the real world and outside of this park. Another note I want to say is, Evan Rachel Wood probably put in a request for a costume change, because I must say she looks absolutely elegant in what she's wearing. But since she had to wear that boring blue dress for pretty much the entire first season, and she's still half rocking it at some points throughout this season, she demanded for some better quality clothes. She's like, look, I've either been naked or in this blue dress. You need to get me something nice. So I must admit, she looks great. So, all right, let's do it right. Take it from there, and we're going to kick it into our timelines. Kind of set everybody up and have a little fun. So let's go to the timelines. Alright guys, here's our little timelines. You should hopefully get used to this. This will be my little fun segment. I like to break up the minutia of the show because there's so much talking, a lot going on. So here's kind of like where I like to show you guys like a little diagram. So here's my timeline. We still have the Westworld Season 1 party night being the official start point for the end of the night, and everything starts. That still goes to Bernard washes up on shore. But in this episode, we actually get a deeper look into a lot more stuff. The Bernard Charlotte on the run, they don't go to at all. So we do know that Bernard washes up on shore. We still don't know how he gets there. But what we get more of in this one is we get Man in Black finally gives us a destination. Now you see the destination here, the Valley to the West, built by his younger self. We'll get into that more. We also have Maeve, Hector, and Lee, and they're officially on their look for Maeve's daughter, and that's coming. And you can see they cross over because at some point, Dolores and Teddy, on their spree of killing everybody, crosses paths with Maeve, which we'll get to, and they're also on the hunt for the valley that William built, which is supposedly a weapon. So, we'll see. Let's get back to the explanations. Alright, guys. So now let's get into the Delios kind of flashback timeline, because in this episode, we actually get a flashback to the Delios coming into the Argus program, which is Westworld, and how they became a part of it. And we really get to see the beginning, which kind of in the description when they talk about reunion, it says, let's take you back to the beginning. So we get this real cool setup. So we first meet we first meet Logan, and Logan is at a bar, and William is there, and he's having cocktails with another gentleman, and they're just kind of discussing stuff and having a conversation. And out of nowhere, two people show up. A gentleman we never met, and then host, I don't know if we call her host 2 or 3, but definitely one of the top 3, Angela, who, as we now know, is a humongous cog in this whole entire story. Between Dolores, Angela, and Teddy, I think they're the original 3 that would matter the most, and we'll get to them more a little bit. But Angela's there, and they're talking to Logan about investing into the Argus program, and they say they're fair from there, and he's like, look, I don't know what you guys are trying to sell me. He's like, everyone's coming to me, and he basically names all these different virtual realities, and what it is he's a money man at this point. Like, he's got a lot of money, and people want him to invest in their new creations. So he's telling people about how VR companies are trying to come to him. So I don't know if you guys have seen Ready Player One, but in Ready Player One, it's this ginormous VR world created called the Oasis. And that's basically kind of what these people are trying to pitch to the Delios company at this time. And the Argus company comes to him with something completely different. So they take him back to this party that they're having, and it's supposed to be a private party, and he even states it. I thought it was supposed to be a private party. And they take him to this room, and there's all these people standing around, and they ask him, the gentleman asks him, the lady asks him, pick out who's fake, like, either challenge him. So he's in this whole little going around, checking out everybody, and then he stops and stares at Angela. And I felt like Angela kind of gave herself away in a lot of ways, because Angela's a very attractive, tall lady. And an attractive woman would not just be standing in the middle of a room with her shoulders slumped, kind of arms out, looking very normal. An elegant lady's either going to be leaning on something, kind of looking gracefully. I mean, I've never seen a beautiful woman just standing in the middle of the room with her arms slumped, waiting for someone to talk to her. That just does not happen. So that's why he easily saw that it was Angela, because her body language was so different from what it should be from someone of, that would be basically someone as pretty as her would be spoiled half her life or given stuff, or people would be flocking to her. So that looked weird. But the best part is when they do the stop freeze scene, and every single person in the room stops, and you get boom, and that's where Logan, right then and there, before we see him last year in the park, falls in love with this place, because he got completely fooled by all of them, and every single person in the party is a host. And that was just a beautiful scene. I love the way they did it. I love the contents back and forth and just showing things. Thought that was great. So that's a great scene. So right then, Logan invests in this company, and that's how Delios becomes a part of it. At that same party where all these events happen, obviously Logan takes in some of the finer pleasures of these hosts and has Angela, and Dolores sees everything. Dolores is at this party and sees everything, and it's just more to the whole Dolores remembering all and seeing all, because she's been there since day one and seen everything. So this only helps future Dolores out, because now all her memories are coming back to her, and she's starting to remember all these things from like day one to the most important events. And now we're starting to see him as audience. We're starting to see him alongside Dolores remembering these memories. So the next thing we kick back to is William, and we actually kick back to Westworld, the park, and the park's in its normal routine, and Dolores is back in that blue dress being Dolores and doing the same Teddy scene, and everything stops. And out of nowhere, this older gentleman walks up, and we find out that this is Logan's father, and William's wife's father, and his future father-in-law, and they're having a discussion about this park and all the different intricacies in this park. And basically this is after William has been in this park and already experienced it and fallen in love with Dolores, because his father-in-law is throwing little snipes at him about how he wants this park to thrive, and he's hoping that this is not some like quest for William to discover himself and be someone with this park, and that's what's going to do for him. That's what he doesn't want. So he's kind of razzing on him, and William challenges him and basically says, I thought you were the businessman, and he kind of gets a little snipey back, and they end up agreeing, and that's how they stay invested in this park and moving things forward. So the next time we meet him, we're actually at the retirement party for his father-in-law. So his father-in-law is dying, as you can see. It seems like it's cancer. I don't know if they really say it, but it seems like it's cancer because he's coughing. It seems like lung cancer or something of that nature. Don't quote me on that. I have to double check that one. But he's dying. It's his retirement party, and of course, who's there? Dolores. Of course, Dolores is there. She's playing music, and she's on the piano playing music. We also get to meet for the first time, actually in person and not in a picture, we get to meet William's wife and daughter. And that was the young daughter and William's wife that we saw in the picture. We get to see them all there. And you can see that she's giving the snide look to Dolores, and the little girl even acts funny towards her because she knows she's a robot. And William goes over to Dolores, and right before then, the father-in-law cuts him off, just like cutting him off at the path, and they're having this discussion about his retirement party, and then just kind of going about the different things and changes and seeing things go farther in the future, and hopefully things get better. At this party, Dolores ends up walking outside and, you know, staring off into the distance, obviously like normal, and she meets up with Logan at this party, and Logan's having this whole discussion because he's getting high off of some weird drugs he's poking into his body, and he's talking about death, and there'll be the creation of death and all this nonsense. I mean, they're going deep into psychological stuff. There's a whole lot to it, but basically this is all, you know, Logan seeing Dolores again, just reconnecting, and Dolores really staring off and seeing all the beauty and splendor in this world. And that's kind of where they're giving you the most stuff. Then we see, the next time we get to the storyline, we actually get a Dolores and William a la Arnold and Dolores. So William is now in one of those rooms, and Dolores is naked, and he's ceasing all motor function, and he's talking to Dolores, and he's like confessing and can't believe he's falling in love with her, and he knows it's all fake. He's trying to psych himself out mentally because he's still infatuated with her, so he's trying to do everything in his power by having her there, putting her naked in front of him, and just talking down to her so that hopefully he can get over her in the fact. So he ends up showing her this great valley or something that he's creating, and he ends up showing her that it's under construction, and it's this one thing that he decided to create, and it's actually the place that everyone is trying to go to now in the future. His future self tells, you know, his companion that he needs to go there, and Dolores tells Teddy and Angela that she needs to get there because it's a weapon. So this is the new big mystery now that we're going to get to, is what did William create so many years ago that now is supposedly a weapon for Dolores to use against humans, and so she can have her robot revolution. Only time will tell, and we get to see. So there's that one line. All right, let's kick to the next. All right, so now we're on to the Man in Black storyline. So we actually joined the Man in Black storyline, and we actually get to see Lawrence, who's played multiple people in this storyline, but he's Lawrence at this point. And he's been captured by a couple of gentlemen, and he's hung upside down on some anthill, and they're having a discussion on how long and everything. He stole some horses, you know, just having some fun, playful banter with inside of the world. Man in Black comes and saves him, tells him he needs him to come along with him on a mission. He cuts him free, and at the same time, this is when you kind of get this new what's happening in this world, which I'm calling zombie robots. So basically, the Man in Black takes out each one of these three brothers who are trying to take out Lawrence, but he doesn't shoot one of them in the head. He shoots him in the chest, and one of the brothers gets up and starts charging back at the Man in Black, and he ends up having to fight him off. He gets shot in the arm. I mean, he finally gets wounded, but it's real stakes, and you can see the smile on his face again because he's so happy that he's in the middle of this thing. But now we've started something new, and this is the first increments of this new little robot zombies we got. So that's the first thing. They end up going to this bar, and at this point, because he's part owner of this thing and he knows all the tricks, he's like looking for this panel in the bar. He sticks his fist through it, and he pulls out like a medical kit. And he's like, what is that? He's like, cheating. So he's like, Ford changed the game, so I'm a cheat too. So basically, Ford has changed the rules, and he now can get hurt, so he goes and gets a medical kit and takes the bullet out and cleans up and cauterizes his wound. At the same time, he's telling Lawrence that he needs him to come with them and to go and find to get to this place that he had built, that he built the mistake. He calls it his greatest mistake, and he needs to get down there, and he needs his help to get him through there. And he's like, well, there's only two ways. He's like, well, we got to go west. He's like, well, all the Confederales are trying to go west. He's like, well, we're going to need to go there. And he's like, well, the only other way is to go through Pariah, which is the other town, which is that like voodoo New Orleans-esque town that we went to in season 1, where they're having that party and that crazy wild orgy that happened. So that's where they end up going. So we watch them, and they're going down that way, and there's there's a northern man who's hung, and he's one of the guys hung, and you can see the Confederalis are just taking over. And then Man in Black goes, well, that's what happens when you let these storylines play out, because there's been no guests, and then because they've been taking over this park, all their storylines have fully flourished, and now they're on a whole other plane and doing whatever they want and controlling the park and what they do. So they get to this town of Pariah, and it's like a ghost town. There's like, there's there's people all over the place, and they're like freaking out. And they get there, and they meet back, and once they get there, all these guys come out of the woodwork, and it's a new Alonzo, and it's actually a little cameo, a cool little cameo. We get a gentleman from Breaking Bad. Cool little cameo. I appreciate that. I like that, so that was cool. So he's the new Alonzo, and he's talking about he's freed his people, and he's gone the whole way. Well, Ford's there to convince him not Ford. Man in Black's there to convince him to come with him and use his men to get down to the west because he needs to get past the Confederalis. He doesn't want to go with them. They're having this big discussion. Man in Black ends up grabbing Alonzo and turning the gun on him. So he thinks he's got him now, and he's going to convince him to take him down there. And at the same time, this beautiful, beautiful scene that I just love it. Alonzo instantly turns into Ford. So now Dr. Ford has put in fail-safes throughout the game that I guess if someone tries to assist or help the Man in Black outside of, I guess, one or two characters, they instantly won't help them. So Ford starts talking and says, you must do this game on your own. Like, it's just this great scene. And all of the men turn the guns on themselves and end up shooting themselves in the head. And even Alonzo grabs a gun that was on him and shoots himself through crazy. Ford has got him so stuck and is going to make him earn this game. Is beautiful. And of course you got that great line. He's like, who the bleep is Ford? Just a great little twist that adds to it. This makes this even harder for the Man in Black because he knows where he needs to go and he understands this whole thing and this park and everything. But his resources are being drained around him because Ford has made it that this is going to be his journey that he's going to have to do on his own. So just a great, great scene and a great way to end the whole Man in Black line for this episode. So now we're going to kick over to the big one. All right, so here's the big storyline of this episode. Now it's the morning after, and we're inside, we're down below, and we're in one of those they're tactician places, and they're working on bodies, and the guy's complaining. He's like, man, we've been working 13 hours. Where is everybody? Out of nowhere, one of the board members lifts up the gate, and he comes out of one of those, outposts and escapes, and he runs, and he's like, you guys got to get out of here. They've taken over the park, and they're all looking at him like he's crazy. So what we find out is Angela, Teddy, and Dolores let one of the board members get loose so they could follow him to this elevator. He goes down the elevator. They follow him. They go down the elevator. So at the end of episode 1, when they say we found it, this is Dolores trying to open Teddy's eyes to what is really going on with this park and what he really is. So they take Teddy down there. They capture these dudes. And Dolores being all total Wyatt Dolores and El Diablo. I mean, she's on a whole nother level, taking people out systematically and scaring the mess out of them. She wants Teddy to understand what he is seeing and what's going on. She basically, I'm going to call him New Felix because we haven't got a name for this individual yet. She tells New Felix to show him, and the guy breaks out one of the pads and he's showing the memories of old Teddy. He's like, how come I can't remember all this? They're like, they don't want you. You need to understand. So now she's got like this new Felix character that she's going to use to her disposal and, take him around for what she needs. And she's trying to open Teddy's eyes to what's going on. The next time we come back is Dolores is interrogating one of the security guards and is like, how many are there? How many are there? And the guy says there's like 600 to 800. He goes, where are they coming? And he points to where I think it's Bernard washes up on the shore and they're all coming. So she's asking, when is security coming or when is the big, mercenaries coming with all their people to try to shut us down? And this guy tells him there's like 800 people going to come and where they're coming. Teddy looks at Dolores like, we don't have enough. We don't have enough people. Like, we're not going to be able to do this. So this is when Dolores gets it in her mind, and I guess her and Angela already have it in their minds, and they start looking through the bodies, and they see this old Confederate soldier. And there you go. She tells New Felix, wake him up. So she wakes up like a zombie-style Confederate, And they kind of like set him off, and they're like, he's like a bloodhound. Don't worry, we'll just follow him, and he'll take us to where we need to go. So that's exactly what they do. They kind of like set him back in the park, and he's like a zombie, and he's gonna take them where they go. So they go back out and start on their mission. And when they start on their mission is when they have the big, great crossover scene that we have. So on this crossover scene, we get Dolores and Maeve crossing over, both powerful women in charge of what they're doing, intersecting at a crossroad, and they basically have a mano-a-mano talk about, you know, helping each other and what they're looking for and who's going for what and what's coming in and the reckoning and the whole deal. And it's just kind of like this cool scene because we finally get to see Maeve and Dolores cross again. And it's cool, and they both go about their way, and they end up going about their way. That's all we get of Maeve. So obviously they're saving Maeve and Bernard for the next one, and Dolores goes on his way. So they track this soldier back to these captains and these Confederales captains. So they get in there. And, you know, these Confederales are gone through their full story. They're winning the whole thing. They're kicking butt. So they're arrogant and feeling all cocky and thinking they got stuff. And Dolores is going in there cool smooth. She just goes in there and she's just telling them, you're all going to work for me and I need you to come with me and you need to learn. And just having this standoff, they're not listening. And she's just so cold and calculated. She has Angela and Teddy just basically kill them all right there. I mean, just shoot them all dead. She ain't got no regard. Then she grabs New Felix, wake them all up. Ends up waking them all up. And this is what I'm talking about. So she's created this like zombie robot army she's starting to pull together. Like, they're unkillable. Unless they get shot in the head, they can be re-woken up again and used for their thing. It's like Game of Thrones and Westworld want a crossover. Like, are we going to get a Game of Thrones Westworld crossover at the end? Are we going to find out that the whites were actually Westworld zombies in the future? I'm just playing. All right, I'm going too deep. All right, I'll be quiet. That's just going deep. But yeah, so we got this new like zombie robots, and the last shot we get is them kind of like riding out and like walking like zombies in the great pasture of Westworld, and Dolores and Teddy are riding out, and they're meeting back up with the other Confederate soldiers, which are all down in this big Confederate fort, and they're all looking to storm west to get to this thing or something that William created a while ago that she remembers now because she's awoken, and she says it's a weapon and she's going to use it. So, man, what an episode. I mean, this thing's got everything. It gives us a little great originality, backstory, to new information, to brand new fun stuff, to Ford still messing with us while we're in the middle of it. Like I say every week, what the bleep, Westworld? Man. Alright. Well, there you go, folks. There's episode 2 of the reunion. Come back next week and we'll try to figure out again what Westworld is doing. Until next time, folks. Good night, Ted.